Former federal prosecutor Niyama Ramani has revealed that Diddy is facing multiple decades in prison due to numerous criminal charges, including sex trafficking and racketeering. Reports suggest that Diddy's family has allegedly abandoned him and has stopped attending his bail hearings.
Now, earlier in the day, prosecutors outlined some of the items seized when they raided Diddy's homes. That included AR-15 rifles, ammunition, and images and videos of sex performances Diddy allegedly organized. Let's go to Nima Rahmani, president of West Coast Trial Lawyers, former federal prosecutor, joining us tonight from Los Angeles. Thanks for joining us today. Are you surprised that he's being held without bail, and what does that tell you?
I'm not surprised he's being held without bail because these are very serious allegations: sex trafficking, drug trafficking, some of which carry mandatory 10-year sentences in federal prison. That means the judge can't go lower than amount. And of course, we know that Diddy, at least allegedly, according to the indictment, has threatened some of these witnesses and tried to bribe them. So given the nature of the charges and the fact that there's a presumption of detention for some of them, Diddy is being treated just like any other criminal defendant, despite his fame and his wealth.
Okay, so is the approach to this case similar to the way we saw the R. Kelly case being pursued?
It is similar because obviously we're talking about a RICO indictment, which is a corrupt criminal enterprise. And, we talk about racketeering. Of course, RICO is typically reserved for organizations like the mob or the cartel or street gangs, but it can apply to someone like Diddy with a large entourage. Obviously, they're being prosecuted by the feds, also in New York. In R. Kelly's case, it was prosecutors in Brooklyn, not Manhattan, but it's a very similar prosecution. But there is one key difference, and that is R. Kelly was charged with sexually abusing minors. And even though there were a lot of rumors and allegations of underage women at these parties,
this time around, Diddy was brought in first. He was brought in about a couple minutes after 2 p.m. today, and we were all kind of waiting to see. We had heard mumblings that his mom might be in courtroom, that we were waiting for the children, but then nothing happened. But then, in another twist and turn, the children do walk in, but this time it was a lot smaller bunch than it was the last time. So last time you're having all of Diddy's children, except with the exception of Love, who is just a 2-year-old child, so she wasn't at court, but you had all of Diddy's children there except Love. But this time around, you just had Justin Combs and Christian Combs, meaning that there was no Quincy there today. Delilah and Jesse weren't there. Chance wasn't there, and the caretakers of his younger children who aren't of age just yet, they were not present inside the courtroom as well today. But his mom also wasn't in court today. So when Diddy came inside, it was still that standard issued MDC jumpsuit. He's wearing khaki. From that video of, I think that was obtained by Daily Mail back in September, of Diddy playing hacky sack in Central Park, to now he appeared just astonishingly thinner, which you can expect to be inside a federal detention center for a couple months now. A lot different from the luxury lifestyle that he was living before, but he appeared very noticeably thinner, and maybe being locked up in detention is starting to wear on him.
Excuse me, everybody back up, please. Once I get this out, I'll be out of here.
New allegations have surfaced against Diddy, this time from former members of the band Danny T. Kane. Aubrey O'Day, Don Richard, and D. Woods have reportedly filed lawsuits against him, accusing him of treating them like mere objects, valuing them solely for their sex appeal. In a recent interview, D. Woods opened up about experiencing verbal abuse and degrading comments, which she also reflected on in the docuseries The Fall of Diddy.
A new investigation, Discovery docuseries, is uncovering some new allegations about Sean Diddy Combs.
The Fall of Diddy, as it's called, features stories from some of those who worked closely with the music mogul, and that includes Danny Kane singer D. Woods, who was featured on the hit show Making the Band 3.
What would you say to Diddy if you had the chance to talk to him?
I honestly do not know. But I don't think you really have to say anything. As long as I'm holding my head up high and my shoulders back.
I feel like I really want to hear this whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so Woods sitting down for an exclusive interview with ABC's Eva Pilgrim. She says what should have been a dream come true quickly became something else, alleging that Diddy created a verbally abusive work environment.
Somebody constantly treating you like a piece of meat. Only valuing you for your sex appeal. And in some of the environments, you know, it was even scary to be by yourself.
Yeah, D. Woods is 3 of 5 members of Danity Kane who have spoken out over the last couple of years about abusive allegations during their time working with Diddy. He has denied all the allegations made against him in the documentary. He's facing trial later this year, charges including trafficking and racketeering, and he has pleaded not guilty.
Diddy's legal team has recently acknowledged the existence of his freak-off tapes and requested access to them for review. However, Judge Aaron Subban denied their request after prosecutors argued that Diddy intended to use the tapes to embarrass Cassie. While his legal team is permitted to review the tapes under supervision, their demand for copies has raised suspicions. The tapes were originally handed over to the FBI by Cassie, but Diddy's team claims they actually depict her as happy and satisfied in his presence. So Wanda corrects Cassie during this scene.
In their letter, they write, quote, "Having reviewed these videos, it is now abundantly clear that they confirm Mr. Combs' innocence and that their full exculpatory value cannot be investigated and used unless they are electronically produced. The 9 videos at issue are the so-called freak-off tapes with victim 1 that the government has repeatedly referenced, causing wild speculation in the media. Contrary to what the government has led this court and the public to believe, the so-called freak-offs were private sexual activity between fully consenting adults in a long-term relationship. Like many Americans in the privacy of their own bedrooms, they sometimes film their sexual activity. These videos unambiguously show that the person alleged in the indictment to be victim 1 not only consented, but thoroughly enjoyed herself." And we believe, by the way, victim 1 to be Cassandra Ventura. This is Diddy's ex, who first filed that initial sexual assault lawsuit against Combs back in 2023. She was in that infamous surveillance footage that was published by CNN of an incident that happened in a hotel hallway where Combs is beating Ventura just while wearing a towel. It's a very disturbing video. He argues the videos don't show any orgies or celebrities or violence or coercion or threats or manipulation or evidence of anyone being under the influence of drugs, that this is not sex trafficking. Quote, "The premise that freak-offs are inherently dangerous shows that the government seeks to police non-conforming sexual activity and that it assumes, despite all evidence to the contrary, that a woman's willing participation must have been coerced." That's interesting because that's something we've long suspected, that the defense is not going to shy away from the term freak-offs. They might accept, yeah, Combs called these freak-offs, but this was entirely consensual. It was all on the up and up. It might be different to you and me, but there's nothing illegal going on here.
If the government is the government in the Southern District of New York, I can't imagine this is what they're hanging their hat on if it's what the defense describes. It's like one of those things that when you have a weakness in a case, the government has to decide how they're going to use that. My guess is they're going to use it to show that there were sex workers, that these sex workers were paid. I would imagine that they have the sex workers that are in the video to come in and describe what was going on or what happened before they went on tape, whether or not they had drugs or alcohol or anything else, whether or not Cassie had drugs or alcohol, whether or not there was a discussion between Sean, Combs, and Cassie before the tape started. So
Right.
I think that the tape is going to be one portion of it, but the testimony of either the sex workers that were in the video and or Cassie is going to kind of tie it together. That's my guess.
Interestingly, these tapes are set to be played in court, along with all other electronic evidence seized by the FBI. A grand jury will be required to review all the footage taken from Diddy's mansion. Prosecutors argue that these videos will play a crucial role in their case, while Diddy's legal team insists that the tapes do not support the prosecution's narrative of illicit conduct.
When the trial starts and the jury sits, will they be shown these tapes?
100%.
Will they have to watch it in court? Like during
100%. in court in front of a room of people. And so that's the other thing that's awful. They are going to be watching basically porn for hours on end in front of people. So in front of victim one, whoever it may be, there's going to be porno played in the federal courtroom.
And victim one would have been made aware of this.
Oh, 100%. She's probably being told right now, like, this is going to be played in open court. Your sex history, your sex life is going to be talked about in open court. All of this.
And presumably then she knows that and she's pushing forward because she hasn't withdrawn.
But don't forget this. It doesn't matter if she does or she doesn't. This isn't a civil case. This is the criminal case. So she could flat out tell the federal government, I don't want to participate, and they can say, we don't care. This is a crime. Crimes are against the United States, not against them. Keep calling her victim one, but don't forget, she's a witness to a crime. So it doesn't matter if she went to them in today and said, I'm not participating. Their response, we don't care. Get your ass on the stand.
Do they prep you for stuff like this in law school? Do they say, you know, you might do a case and you might have to watch hours of pornographic material and comb through it? Like, what's the semester on for this?
Well, you're exactly right. They don't prepare you for that because you understand every case is different. So you read about cases. Like, I think this Diddy case is going to be studied forever. You know, I think it's going to be studied in law school.
To make matters even worse for Diddy, his family is now facing legal trouble as well. His son, Christian Combs, is being sued over serious allegations of sexual assault. The lawsuit, filed by Grace Omar, a crew member and bartender on a yacht chartered by Sean Combs, accuses Christian of pressuring her to drink spiked tequila. Once she was unable to fight back, he allegedly groped her and attempted to force her to perform oral sex.
There are also allegations that Diddy forced these victims to have sex with prostitutes as he touched himself. He called these situations freak-offs, and oftentimes he recorded them. Here's where some of the allegations against his son Justin Combs come in. So all this takes us back to February, when Rodney Jones, also known as the producer Lil Rod, filed civil suit against Diddy. In his lengthy lawsuit, Lil Rod straight name drops Justin Combs, describing him as someone who solicits prostitutes, underage girls, and sex workers. There's actually a picture of Justin Combs with an allegedly underage girl shown in the lawsuit. Now, in this specific instance, Lil Rod alleges at least one underage girl came to Diddy's home for a listening party. A sex worker was also apparently solicited, and a freak-off ensued. As an aside, this is the same night that Lil Rod alleges Diddy forced him to take a laced shot. He started to feel lightheaded and then woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning, naked next to a sex worker. It's important to note Justin Combs is listed as a defendant on this case because, according to Lil Rod, he facilitated Diddy's alleged RICO enterprise and at times participated. According to court documents, it happened on September 12, 2022, outside Diddy's Chalice Studios. Lil Rod says Diddy, his son Justin, and Justin's friend who went by G were all there when things got heated. Lil Rod says he heard multiple gunshots ring out and later found G on the bathroom floor in the fetal position. Lil Rod says he was bleeding out of his hip and leg area. Lil Rod says he was applying pressure to G's wounds and then asked the crowd to call an ambulance. At that point, both Diddy and Justin Combs disappeared to another part of the studio. Diddy then gave strict instructions to inform the police that he had nothing to do with the shooting. He also forced Mr. Jones to lie to the police by telling them that G was shot standing outside the studio by a drive-by assailant. So that specific allegation involves Diddy's son Justin, but another allegation and entirely separate civil lawsuit involves his other son Christian, or King Combs. Grace Omar K alleges that Christian Combs sexually assaulted her on a yacht in December 2022, and she says it was facilitated by Diddy.
Interestingly, Diddy's sons have also attempted to prevent key evidence from surfacing in the case against Sean Diddy Combs. Back in November 2024, Courtney Burgess, CEO of Alter Ego Records, claimed that Diddy's late ex-wife Kim Porter had entrusted him with crucial evidence, including copies of freak-off tapes and an electronic copy of her memoir for safekeeping. Now, Diddy's sons are reportedly trying to block the release of this evidence.
Here is the other thing with Mr. Burgess. He apparently says he owns the rights to a book that was reportedly based on the alleged memoir of Kim Porter. In fact, according to TMZ, Burgess' phone was seized by the feds, and on it was a copy of a flash drive with material that was used in this book. Here's the problem. Christian and Quincy Combs, these are the sons of Diddy and Kim Porter. Quincy's actually adopted by Diddy. But they are reportedly fighting back, and they have sent Burgess a cease and desist letter to prevent the further sale of this book. They argue this is just an attempt to capitalize on Porter's fame and that they own the rights to her IP, her intellectual property, like her diary entries, her potential manuscript. As her heirs, they own it. And they also want an accounting of current sales of the book. To be clear, though, they aren't acknowledging that there is, in fact, a long-lost memoir from their mother. In fact, they've actually denied that before when there was a similar book, a derivative work, we'll talk about that, published by this guy named Chris Todd on Amazon. They were adamantly fighting against that. They said that their mother wouldn't write this. But what they're basically saying is if something should exist, they own it.
Why were you so infatuated with a child that wasn't yours? Were you grooming that little boy? I don't even want to start those conversations because that's not your child. You know what I'm saying? And for you to keep him that close, it's like you kept him that close because he might got your secrets because he's not your child. So if he's not your child and you that type of person with that type of character, you don't mind actually doing it to him when he finally reaches a certain age because he's not yours. And you know in your mind he's not yours. And now you keep him real close to you. You make sure he don't go to his daddy. Why? You make sure he's separated with him and you provide him with everything he wants. Why? You got one of them little Michael Jackson secrets. He got one of them secrets that he can't tell nobody because his legacy, I mean, his manhood gonna be, and not only that, his brother don't gonna look at him crazy. Only Puffy know, only God and Puffy.
About Quincy, right?
I don't know. All I'm gonna say is, I don't know.
I'll be sure, son.
All I'm gonna say is, who's infatuated with another man's son like that? Like that seemed like grooming to me.
The allegations of pedophilia against Diddy are likely to make his prison time even tougher. Inmates with such charges often face hostility, and Diddy isn't suited for jail. Former inmate Harvey Levan claims Diddy is already a target, with reports suggesting he has been crying behind bars.
So breaking news right now, Larry, I am just getting word. People magazine says it's got a source on the inside that tells them that P. Diddy's on suicide watch tonight. Do your sources confer the same information? Are they saying it was possible?
Hey, real quickly, all that commissary stuff, he's not getting any of that because people in the SHU have an abbreviated list. So he's out of luck. No stake for him. Yeah, he is on suicide watch. This guy thought he would have went home. All of a sudden, he didn't get bond. Remember, the first night that he was there, he was like an overnight guest. When they told his bond hearing, now they checked him into the system, and reality has hit him. And I understand that he has a shrink coming by his cell to see him several times a day. And now there's talk about putting him in, it's like a bubble. It's like a cell that has like a plexiglass wall in it where they have inmates watching you. That's actually their job, to keep an eye on the inmates that are on suicide watch. Another error that I guess some warden told you this. There are sentenced inmates there. They're called cadre inmates. They don't have to be white collar inmates, but they're doing maintenance on the building. And the problem why there's a lot of violence there, they have housing units. And they're mixing bank robbers, drug dealers, rapists with white collar people. And this is why Diddy, he can't go into a regular housing unit because somebody will take him out for sure. Somebody's gonna get a lot of street credibility out of this. People that are doing substantial time that know they're never getting out, they'll just kill the guy. No questions asked.
You think that they'd suck up to him because he's got a lot of money, and if he ever does get the commissary options, he would be able to help them.
Some people do because
I gotta wrap it real quick.
Okay, some people do think that Diddy can help him, but this guy's going to be locked up forever. His case will probably take at least 3 years to litigate. He'll stay at MDC. There's rumors that he wants to go to Essex County Jail in New Jersey because he doesn't like MDC. He's a Marshals inmate. There's no way they're going to transfer him back and forth, I don't know, several times a week 6 marshals to do it.
Jersey.
He's out of luck.
Listen, I'm going to
Nighty-night,
have you
Diddy.
back. I'm going to have you back. I have so many more questions for you, but we've had a lot of breaking news in this show. So Larry Levine, thanks for that. I appreciate it.